So the next is regarding some numerical aspects regarding the glomerular filtration for the aspect of NEET as well as the CET examination. See, in previous class we got to know that one. The net glomerular filtration pressure is 10 mm Hg only. Okay. In that GB HP, what is that one? Glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure is 60 mm Hg, and then the pressure which act against this GBHP is BCOP, that is blood colloidal osmotic pressure, and then capsular hydrostatic pressure. Together it represents 50 mm Hg. So 60 minus 50 means 10 mm Hg is the actual or the net glomerular filtration pressure, right? Okay. So how much amount of blood get filtered through the glomerular filtration per minute means, see, 1100 to, it's around 1100 to 1200 ml of blood get filtered, right? 1100 to 1200 ml of blood get filtered per minute. So this volume of the blood is equal to 1/5 of the cardiac output. 1/5 of cardiac output. So this is equal to, this one is equal to 1/5 of cardiac output. What is the cardiac output volume? 5040 ml. 1100 means it's nearly 1/5 of that one, right? Okay. 1100 into 5, 5500 ml. 1100 into 5 means 5500 ml. But cardiac output is nearly 5100 ml, means 5040 ml. Means it's nearly 1/5 of the cardiac output. So this is very important for the NEET examination here. Among these 1100 to 1200 ml of blood get filtered, how much filtrate will be formed into the Bowman's capsule? 125 ml. So from 1100 to 1200 ml of blood, only 125 ml per minute, or only 125 ml of filtrate is formed into, this one is formed into Bowman's capsule. So this value is called as glomerular filtration rate. So glomerular filtration rate is 125 ml per minute, or this is equal to 180 liters per day. 180 liters per day. But what is the total body fluid volume? Means how much blood will be present in our body? Around 5 liters, right? Means the frequently whole blood passes through the kidneys several times in order to produce 125 ml of filtrate per minute. So that forms 180 liters of filtrate per day. This value is called as glomerular filtration rate, or in short it is represented as G of R. So what is the value of G of R? 125 ml per minute, or 180 liters per day. So among this 1100 to 1200 ml of blood get filtered. Among 1100 to 1200 ml of blood get filtered, 650 ml is plasma only. 650 ml is plasma only. So next, among 1100 to 1200 ml of blood get filtered, 650 ml is plasma. 650 ml is plasma. So this 650 ml of plasma in that filtrate is representing renal plasma flow. This is called as renal plasma flow, which is called as renal plasma flow. Renal plasma flow, that is RPF, renal plasma flow in filtrate. We know that the filtrate is formed of the same composition as that of the plasma, except few proteins, right? Except few proteins, all the component of plasma will be present in the filtrate. And how much ml of filtrate will be present in that 1100 to 1200 ml of blood means 650 ml, right? 650 ml. So it is representing nearly 60 to 65% of the filtrate. 60 to 65% of the filtrate is nothing but plasma only. Such a flow of the filtrate is called as renal plasma flow. Renal plasma flow. So this, not 60 to 65%. It is representing 20% of the filtrate. 20% of filtrate. Now, based on this GFR as well as the RPF, so we can calculate filtration fraction. So based on these two numericals, so we are able to calculate now filtration fraction. What do you mean by the filtration fraction? So filtration fraction is nothing but it is a ratio between glomerular filtration rate, that is glomerular filtration rate, to RPF. What is RPF? Renal plasma flow, which is multiplied by 100. Why? Because we will represent it in the form of a percentage only. So what is the value of GFR here? 125 ml per minute. Next, RPF is, it is 650 into 100. So that gives nearly 19.2%. 19.2%. Okay. So the normal filtration fraction for the kidney or the nephrons is 19.2%. And what is the range of normal filtration fraction then? What is the range of normal filtration fraction of the human kidney? So normal range of filtration fraction are normally filtration fraction varies or ranges between 15 to 20%. 15 to 20%. Normal filtration fraction value that ranges between 15 to 20%. See here how much we got? 19.2%. 19.2%. But it can vary between 15 to 20%. That represents the normal filtration fraction of the kidney. Any doubt in this one? If what happens in case, as we mentioned regarding net filtration pressure is 10 mmHg, right? So among that, glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure is 60 mmHg, BCOP and CHP together 50 mmHg, right? So that net filtration pressure is 10 mmHg. In case if the glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure is 50 mmHg only and blood colloidal osmotic pressure is 30 mmHg, and then what one? Next is yes, capsular hydrostatic pressure is 20 mmHg, means what happens together? 50 minus 50 is 0, it becomes 0. So when the net filtration pressure becomes 0, what happens? No filtration takes place. Such condition is called as renal suppression. So what do you mean by renal suppression then? What is renal suppression? Renal suppression is a condition when GBHB, what do you mean by GBHB? Glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure is 50 mmHg and BCOP is 30 mmHg, CHP is 20 mmHg, what happens? Filtration pressure or the net filtration pressure becomes 0. Net filtration pressure becomes 0. Why it becomes 0? Net filtration pressure is calculated as glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure subtracted by the combination of or the sum of what is that one? BCOP and then CHP. So 50 is the glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure, then minus what is that one? BCOP is 30 and CHP is 20. So 50 minus 50 means that becomes 0. Means there is no pressure acting or there is no driving force for the filtration to occur in the glomerulus, so that no glomerular filtration takes place. Such a condition is only called as renal suppression. Renal suppression. So when the pressure becomes 0, no glomerular filtration occurs. No glomerular filtration occurs. That is only called as renal suppression. Renal suppression. But our kidney physiological function or the anatomical setup is in such a way that it can alter the rate of the glomerular filtration, or it can alter these values according to the need, and carry out the continuous glomerular filtration. So how it can modify its function, or how it can modify these pressures means. Okay, let us understand that. So before that, make a note of these points now. Yes. So when the net filtration pressure becomes 0, no glomerular filtration takes place. That is called a renal suppression. But our kidney has an inbuilt mechanism to regulate this process, or regulate in order to maintain the pressure required for the glomerular filtration. So kidney has auto-regulation mechanism. Kidney has inbuilt auto-regulation. Inbuilt auto-regulation to ensure glomerular filtration, okay, by altering GFR, by altering the GFR. What do you mean by GFR? Glomerular filtration rate. Glomerular filtration rate by altering glomerular blood pressure which is achieved by, or which is achieved through myogenic regulation, which is achieved through myogenic regulation. Along with that one, hormonal feedback mechanism. So here hormonal feedback mechanism involves which hormone? ADH, antidiuretic hormone. That is with the help of ADH and also juxtaglomerular regulation, right? So by these regulations, what happens? It can maintain the normal GFR value which is required for the filtration to occur. Okay, so this normal GFR can be achieved by altering the glomerular blood pressure. If any changes or decrease in the glomerular blood pressure, that only causes no filtration to occur, right? If the normal glomerular blood pressure is maintained, so filtration will take place continuously. That is ensured by means of myogenic regulation, hormonal feedback mechanism, and then juxtaglomerular regulation by juxtaglomerular apparatus. Is it clear? So this is what the inbuilt mechanism present for the continuous activity of kidney or the continuous function of the kidney. Any doubt in this one? So this is regarding the glomerular filtration, the first step in the formation of the urine. Any doubt in first step in the formation of urine? What is the next one? Second step in the formation of the urine is selective reabsorption. Next one is selective reabsorption. So how much filtrate is formed? Glomerular filtration rate is 180 liters per day, right? So among 180 liters, among 180 liter of filtrate formed, how much amount of urine will be released per day? Nearly 1.5 liter of urine will be released per day, right? Or excreted per day. What happens to the remaining amount of filtrate? Means that will be reabsorbed into the body. Among 180 liter of filtrate formed, only 1 to 1.5 liter the urine is excreted out. 99% of filtrate is reabsorbed by renal tubule or various parts of the renal tubule. That is what called as selective reabsorption. How this absorption takes place means either by active or the passive process. Either by active or the passive process of absorption, the filtrate will be reabsorbed into the body. Otherwise, the person will suffer from the dehydration, and that leads to death of that individual. Is it clear? So, how exactly the selective reabsorption takes place and which part is involved in the absorption or to what part of the filtrate? Let us discuss about that now. So during selective reabsorption, how the maximum amount of filtrate, that is 99% of the filtrate, get reabsorbed means here. So what is the role of PCT in reabsorption? What is the role of Henle's loop and then the DCT in the reabsorption means here? The role of PCT here. The PCT is involved, or PCT absorbs water, more amount of water get reabsorbed. Along with that one, okay, nutrients like glucose get reabsorbed. So instead of glucose, you can write directly the nutrients like glucose or the amino acids. Next, 70 to 80% of, along with that one, 70 to 80% of electrolytes. So wherever the numericals are there, okay, these are very important for the CET or the NEET questions. How much electrolytes get absorbed in the PCT of the nephron means 70 to 80% of the electrolytes get absorbed. So here, major part of the filtrate get absorbed by the PCT is water, nutrients, and then the electrolytes. Okay. Next, what is the role of Henle's loop or the loop of Henle in selective reabsorption? Any absorption or any role played by the loop of Henle in the absorption? Why?
Descending loop is permeable towards the...
How many limbs are there in the loop of Henle? 2 limbs are there, right? What are those? One is descending limb, next is ascending limb. 2 limbs are there, right? Okay. These two are opposite in action. Means Henle's loop doesn't play any role in the selective reabsorption. So it has no role no role in selective reabsorption. Selective reabsorption. Then what is the role played by the endless loop? Okay, it mainly involved, yes, it mainly involved in maintaining the, yes, maintaining high osmolarity. Where it maintains the high osmolarity? High osmolarity in interstitial medullary region. In interstitial medullary region of kidney. So how it maintains that increased osmolarity at the interstitial medullary region means that is the descending limb is permeable to water or the salts. Permeable to salts. So descending limb is permeable to water, but impermeable to, yes, but impermeable to electrolytes. As a result, what happens? As the water move out of that descending limb, the salt concentration increases, so that osmolarity increases towards the interstitial medullary region. Opposed to this one, ascending limb. What happens in the ascending limb? This ascending limb is, yes, impermeable to water, but permeable to electrolytes. So in this manner, it helps in maintenance of high osmolarity in interstitial medullary region of the kidney. This is what the role played by the enlaced loop. So only it is not involved in any activities with respect to the selective reabsorption. Any doubt in this one? Okay. Next is, what is the role of DCT then? The next part of the renal tubule is DCT, right? That is the distal convoluted tubule. Yes, what is the role of? Only the conditional reabsorption of sodium ions as well as the water takes place here. That is conditional reabsorption of